So we have networks out here like CNN that are basically exposing ICE. Yeah. Showing something that they probably shouldn't be showing live on television, but of course it's CNN, right? The communist news network. That's what I might start calling CNN from now on. Communist News Network. But then also, all the while ICE is literally saving American lives. And that's what we're going to get into a little bit today, as well as we got a clip from Tim Pool. So shout out to Tim Pool. But before we get into that, let's hop into what CNN aired live on television. Let's dive in.
The Trump administration steps up ICE raids and mass deportations. One tech developer is pushing back with an app designed to track ICE activity in real time. It's called ICE Block, and it's controversial to say the least. CNN's Claire Duffy is with us now. How does this work, Claire, and what are the legal implications?
Yeah, John, I talked with Joshua Aaron, who is the longtime tech worker who developed this platform, and he said he really wants it to be an early warning system for people about the location of immigrations and customs enforcement officers. So he says he does not want people interfering with those officers' activity, but he does want people to be able to avoid them altogether if they want. So you open the app, it looks like a map, and users can tap the map to report an ICE sighting in their area, and then everybody who uses the platform within 5 miles of that sighting will get a push alert. This is a free iPhone app. It is anonymous. Aaron says he doesn't collect any user data. And what I think is really interesting about this in this moment is we've seen so many of the biggest leaders in tech supporting President Trump, but Aaron is sort of an example of the fact that there are people within the tech industry who are really resistant to Trump's policies. I asked him what he would say to those tech leaders who, for example, were at the inauguration. Here's what he told me. Take a listen.
I understand that you have shareholders to report to. I understand that you have employees that need their paychecks. But at what point do you say enough is enough?
And John, I should say that ICE did not respond when I asked them about this platform and about Aaron's opposition to their activity.
So you got people creating apps to report on ICE. Interesting. And it's also quite funny how all of these leftists, when is enough enough? Where was that outrage when North Carolina was underwater? Those Republican counties right before the election? Where was all the outrage when the Biden and Kamala administration were dragging their feet, getting these people assistance, seemingly because they were Republican counties? Where was the outrage? Where was enough enough? Because I haven't forgotten about that situation. Where was when is enough enough from all of these leftists when the people in Ohio where the train derailment happened and those chemicals were everywhere and the Biden administration basically ignored it until they couldn't anymore? Where was the outrage? It seems like these leftists care more about illegal citizens who are not citizens of this country than their own fellow citizens. Interesting how that works. Here's Doug Emhoff spewing his nonsense.
How's Kamala doing? How are you guys doing? Has it been a nice little, break from, presidency, a lot of stress?
It's all good. She's doing great. Thanks.
What do you have to say to, immigrant families that are a little scared about the ICE raids? Anything that you could tell those families right here?
Yeah, what's happening is outrageous, and we've got your back.
Does Kamala plan to help any of them?
Always going to stand up for people in need.
So obviously that's Kamala Harris's husband, Doug Emhoff, of course. So I also want to get to this interesting clip here. I actually saw this clip a few days ago and didn't report on it, but this is actually the perfect video. Meanwhile, right, so you got CNN exposing ICE and Doug Emhoff, oh my goodness, the fake outrage, right? Meanwhile, ICE is actually saving our lives.
Good morning, Tony. The Department of Homeland Security says Yusuf Meridano had been living in the United States illegally for nearly 8 years since U.S. officials determined he lied on a visa application on Sunday, just 4 months after the Iranian foreign national was added to the U.S.'s known or suspected terrorist list. He was arrested in central Mississippi. He's now in ICE custody pending removal proceedings, and he's not alone. Over the past 48 hours, ICE officials have arrested 11 Iranian nationals spanning 8 states nationwide. Among them, 5 possessed previous criminal convictions. Their crimes ranging from grand larceny to drug and firearm possessions. Also among those apprehended, Ribvar Karimi. While arresting him in northern Alabama, ICE officials say they found his Islamic Republic of Iran Army identification card and allege he served as an Iranian sniper between 2018 and 2021.
So much new reporting, Nicole. Before you go, these arrests come as the Department of Homeland Security is alerting the public here of a heightened threat environment in the U.S. Are these arrests related to that warning?
Yeah, the Department of Homeland Security activated its National Terrorism Advisory System just hours after the United States attacks on Iranian nuclear facilities Sunday. Intelligence officials tell CBS News one big concern is homegrown extremism, the potential for attacks inspired by Iranian calls to violence. Now, to be clear, officials have not linked these arrests to any specific credible terrorism plots, but all of these Iranians have been charged or accused of criminal violations, according to ICE. That means more than just violating civil immigration law. And Homeland Security officials say they represent a threat to public safety. According to U.S. government data, last fiscal year, 68 Iranian foreign nationals were arrested by ICE for being in the U.S. illegally, including 47 with criminal convictions. Adriana?
All right, Nicole, thank you.
Yeah, you can thank the Biden-Kamala administration for that. We had an Iranian sniper on American soil. Doing what? Who knows? But thankfully they found him. And if there are any more, hopefully they find them too. All right. But that is some absolutely scary stuff, especially considering what's recently been happening, of course, when you have snipers from other countries on your soil. That ain't good news. That is not good news. But there's more.
National convicted of several Oakland County home invasions was sentenced today. Ignacio, national convicted of several Oakland County home invasions, was sentenced today. Ignacio Ruiz Saldiaz will spend between 10 to 20 years in prison. We're told he's tied to an alleged South American crime ring. Investigators say the group targeted high-end neighborhoods in Metro Detroit, accused of taking hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of belongings and cash. He is the first defendant connected to the group to be tried.
Crazy. Home invasions. Great. Absolutely phenomenal. You know, you're just in your home, minding your own business, having a good time with your family, possibly some friends, and boom, somebody kicks in your front door with a mask on and a firearm in your face and tells you to get on the ground. And they're not even from this country. How great is that? How great is that? Thank you, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. Greatly appreciate you. Not, of course, not at all. But you know, there is something interesting. And I want to play this clip from Tim Pool because he lays this out pretty darn well, if I do say so myself.
So we bring in all these illegal immigrants, create a system built around second-class citizens. That's what Democrats want them for. And then you get this.
It's normally bustling. There's a lot of people normally here. It's a beautiful environment. People are very helpful.
But this week, it's been really empty in the wake of ICE raids and protests.
My business is down about a good 80%. So it's not a good feeling in here right now.
Very lonely. A very slow week for the flower industry.
People are scared to come to downtown. Workers are scared too to come to downtown.
The problem is you become addicted to the bad habit, and it becomes hard to break. But like any addiction, it's going to be tough. You've got to break free from it, and we've got to make America better and make sure we can get these jobs to young Americans who are going to need to learn how to do them.
Exactly. You've become addicted to illegals having all of these jobs. But let me tell you something. There are plenty of Americans who are more than willing to take these jobs. We're already seeing it happening. And not just me. Other Americans are seeing it too.
In 1 week, I have seen in my city black men power washing parking lots, black men doing roofing work, black men doing lawn services around businesses in my city. Things are starting to look like the old days again. Black Man Thoughts 2.0.
Facts. So now that these illegals are being deported or self-deporting or are just in hiding in general, you're seeing a lot of Americans take their jobs. Because remember, the left, oh my goodness, we're not gonna have enough people to fill the jobs. Yeah, we are. Yes, we are. There are plenty of Americans who are more than willing to take these jobs, more than willing to step into these opportunities to acquire more wealth and more money, right? More than enough Americans, absolutely insane. And, it reminds me of an interview that Vance did, and I can't remember the chick's name. I can see her face, but she basically brought that up. I think she brought up something about building homes, and he was like, yeah, it's quite interesting because, we've never built homes. How did he say it? Crap. See, now I'm losing it. Some of you might remember that clip. Actually, I'm going to see if I can pull it up really quickly because he actually laid it out pretty perfectly. I found the clip. Here it is. Enjoy.
That there is a housing crisis is that not enough houses have been built.
And that we have 25 million people who shouldn't be here.
Well, I mean, this is the thing.
I think it's both.
I know you do. I don't think that many people who look into this agree with you, but about a third of the construction workforce in this country is Hispanic. Of those, a large proportion are undocumented. So how do you propose to build all the housing necessary that we need in this country by removing all the people who are working in construction?
Well, I think it's a fair question because we know that back in the 1960s when we had very low levels of illegal immigration, Americans didn't buy houses, didn't build houses, but of course they did. And I'm being sarcastic, of course, in service of a point, Lulu, the assumption that because a large number of home builders now are using undocumented labor, that's the only way to build homes, I think, again,
the country is...
The country is much bigger. And we have a lot more Americans to help build these homes, the same way we did back then. I love the way that he laid that out, Back when we had very little immigration, nobody bought homes or built homes, so I don't know what's going on. Shout out to Vance, man. Shout out to Vance. He's actually leading in the polls to be the Republican nominee in 2028, and I'm not necessarily mad about it. The rest of the list, I'm a little iffy about, but we'll get into that in another video, all right? Y'all let me know what you thought about this one in the comment section below. Make sure you guys hit that like button, hit that share button, click the link and click the link and paste it on X or something. If I catch it, I'll retweet it. So shout out to everybody that's already been sharing the content. I greatly appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. All right? Y'all stay safe out there. Peace and love. I'm out.